Johannes from Avatar. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Wow, Zoom is really taking care of integrity. First time I'm doing an interview in Zoom, and it came a little red dot telling me that it's recording. You can't
They
sneak
do.
up on people with this one.
No, they definitely have all the bells and whistles. When
Hmm
it works beautifully. Hopefully, it continues to work for me
And
and
it
you.
feels like I learned that Zoom existed because of the whole, what's going on in the world. I feel like lots of people did.
Yeah, they weren't ready for all the people who like the platform, and now hopefully they have caught up for the next plague or pandemic. And speaking of, obviously I'm very excited to talk to you about the new album, Hunter Gatherer.
Mhm.
Um, I hope you are well. I hope your family is well. I hope everyone in the band and your friends and family are all well.
Thank you. Everyone surrounding the band and my family and personal life is as of yet healthy. There has been one very close friend of mine back in Sweden did his brother had corona, they guess, checking the symptom, but the testing capacity has been incredibly underwhelming in Sweden, and he was never that bad off, So no, so he definitely never got tested, but he lost taste and all those things. He's okay now. So those I know who have had it have been lucky in terms of how it's treated them, and the rest of us are just still healthy.
Very good to hear. And then of course
And I
we
hope the same for you, of course.
yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. And I'm here. I'm in Brooklyn, New York, which has been hard hit, but I'm well, and
Good.
staying busy doing band interviews and running my site and keeping sharp as possible when
Hmm
I'm not working. But and of course we went right from a pandemic to civil unrest in the whole world, much needed civil unrest, if you ask me. But
Yeah.
no, I'm just because it's timely, I wanted to ask, like, what's the climate like for you at home there? And because I see that there are protests all over the world, which I'm very proud of, actually.
Yeah, like here, like so I live in Finland, in Helsinki. There was a big demonstration. I missed that train, so to speak. I wasn't aware, so I missed out on it. But like all over Europe, there've been these manifestations of solidarity for the whole situation you guys are going through. And yeah, I think they gathered 3,000 people here. I know something similar stuff happened over in Sweden that that was hijacked by people who, more material damage was done. I don't think anything like that happened here in Helsinki. Here was yeah, purely a manifestation of solidarity, to my knowledge.
Nice. And the reason I ask, and beside curiosity, just in general, as you are in Helsinki, the capital of metal in the world. But I wanted to ask you because I always feel like the message of Avatar is very powerful, and it's always about unity, and it's always about
Hmm
freedom, and it's always about personal, in a way, kind of as building this community of free thinkers, and really the spirit of what I feel is like embodies this movement in a way. So it's very interesting to me that life imitates art, and art imitates life sometimes in a good way. So I'm glad that this dialogue is happening worldwide, and it does remind me of Avatar because I come away from every Avatar experience, whether it's listening to this new record or a show, feeling very energized and my mind opened, and
hmm
feeling like that community.
What is interesting is in like metal music, it's one of the most, as far as I don't know, it seems like still most of the best soul music we get tends to be American. You know what I mean? Some genres seems to be more geographically tied. Metal music nowadays, of course, its history is very Anglo-centric to begin. Birmingham, UK, not Alabama. I like Birmingham, Alabama a lot, but for metal history, I guess the UK one is more significant. Uh, but nowadays, talking about Helsinki being metal capital of the world, I don't think there's even is a capital anymore, because when I think where in the last few years, some of the things that have, catched my eye and ears the most in metal it's been Mongolian, it's been from New Zealand, it's been from Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ukraine, you know, and and because metal is as a genre can so easily marry and mix up with the DNA of what's going on locally. It's always funny that there's a genre, folk metal, that nowadays seems to mostly sound like Finno-Scandinavian folk music, no matter if the band is Russian, Italian, or whatever, while the actual folk music thing going on in metal is much cooler, much bigger, wider than that. Again, Mongolian is of course the band The Who, that if they even count as a metal band, because the instruments are like you heard, and I heard them, I presume. But that's, I guess, is folk metal in a way. Or with New Zealand, you got Alien Weaponry with the whole Maori thing that they do heavy music out of. And I guess that's folk. That metal at its core, I guess, always in a way has that vein of being folk music, because it latches on to whatever goes on locally, southern flair of Pantera, sorry. And so metal, I guess, does as a music genre, doesn't know any borders, and can be anywhere and everywhere at the same time on any continent, and doesn't care about ethnicity. Saying that, it becomes a bit of a circle jerk and being very fit, I can sit here and feel very good about myself. Yeah, about that side of it. Then, I feel like there is a certain level of diversity on a metal show. I think I dare say that everywhere we have played in all those contexts, people, no matter what you look like, has felt welcome in shows that I've been a part of personally, to my knowledge. That being said, it is not always as diverse of an audience as the area in which we play. For instance, we did I guess it must have been last time that we headlined London. There were two young girls in the front row wearing they'll call hijab. And we thought that was so cool and fantastic, and we felt, oh, that's something that I wouldn't have taken for granted, and wouldn't have taken for less for granted 10 or 20, 30 years ago. Yet here we are, and we felt good about ourselves. Then when you think about what's the percentage of the London population that are dressed like that comes from that faith or whatever, percentage-wise, they still, it was still disproportionate. There were still basically no one there that was visually, where it was visually clear that person was Muslim, either of faith or culturally, whatever. I don't know what they believed in, but they wore the hijabs. So, and that there you alongside wanting to show some kind of solidarity and wanting to understand how to be involved in an issue that is that is dealing with your country's internal politics. And because we tour the world, there are lots of internal politics for us to look at, agree with or disagree with in a whole lot of countries. So that aside, that is, put aside the fact that I'm in full support of ending racism within your structural racism within your law enforcement. Put that out there. I am on that side. Don't think anything else. What I also, on top of that, carry with me with the geographical distance of me being over here, makes me think about, again, we have to, all of us have to, I guess, look into the mirror and ask ourselves about our own prejudices, about our own inaction when these kind of things happens, until shit's hit the fan, until it's either gets so viscerally, disgustingly bad that people can't shut up, or even worse, until it affects us, which I guess is even more common time for people to react, where solidarity kicks in when when we are put in the pile of victims, sadly. And so there, I haven't reached any good conclusions in this. I just feel like I have a feeling I am, and many of us are, more part of the problem than we want to admit to most of the time. I don't know exactly what that means yet, but that is kind of like, I think we have to think of this whole thing as us, and this is something we are doing, both the good and the bad things, as as a species. Does that make sense?
Totally, very well said. Thank you for coming to our TED Talk. And I know it's a very deep subject to jump into right at the start of an interview, so I appreciate you for sharing. I agree with you. I think I like the fact that it seems like it's sustaining. We need to have this dialogue. We need to look inward. We're not going to fix it in a day. We're not going to fix it with a social media campaign. We have a lot of work to do as an entire human race on this matter. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
But I always feel like Avatar is a band that just because of how you, not even putting it out in words, just how you carry yourselves, what that connection is with the fan, that there's a unity and an intelligence that comes with the band that I really appreciate and I'm thankful for. And you've always had it, and it continues. This new record is awesome. I'm going to segue onto music now. And I wanted to start right with the title. It's a very compelling, captivating, interesting album title. And I wasn't sure if there's a concept through the songs. I've listened to it a few times through. So I wanted to start with that and ask you about the title and anything else relating.
Well, it's not a concept album. That being said, there are red threads thick as rope going through the whole thing. A lot of it comes actually from the book Sapiens, that came, a bestseller. I guess it came out 5 years ago now, maybe, or something. And I will butcher the author's name. Ready? I think it's Yuval Noah Harari, I want to say. I'm pretty sure he's Israeli. At least that's where the university he works at is, if I'm not misremembering. Anyway, but his book Sapiens, which kind of puts the history of human history into a nutshell, gave a whole lot of mind-blowing revelations that then kind of that offered a certain perspective, that then dealing with the separate subjects of all songs gave it all an overarching feel of understanding where we have been, where we are at, and where we are going. That's the big, the big umbrella for most of the themes of the album. So the reason it's called Hunter Gatherer is basically to acknowledge that evolutionary, biologically, we have evolved to be optimized to be that, as far as being animals goes. And then, because of our intelligence, our inventiveness, all these different things that we've been good at as a species, like having a language, planning ahead, cooperating, all these being, inventing and slowly creating a society that has become more and more complex, we are very much out of sync with our inner nature, for good and bad, because I don't think modern life is all bad. And in any case, all the problems that this presents, us being these tribal beasts sometimes that we can be, I think there is a temptation to look back in time for a solution, to say, oh, we are too many. If we are fewer, let's have less babies and the world will be better. Or, let's just shut the machines down. And I just don't find it very likely that something like that would ever happen. If it happens, it's due to, some really, really tragic events that is not for the betterment of our situation. And therefore, I believe that our solution is living door to door to our ultimate demise, meaning it's somewhere ahead of us and something we have to accelerate in order to reach. And the problem is that that kind of acceleration, meaning technological advancement and so on, is also what risks destroying us. But I think, it's this razor thin edge, that we're balancing at, that, and the acceleration is happening. Look at technology around us. Look what you and I are doing right now. And think 30 years back. It's 30 years is not a long time if you read a history book, and it's, and see, now I'll try to find where I was at with this. Yeah, so this acceleration is inevitable, and it is either our saving grace or what will lead to our ultimate demise. And I think the album is throwing a lot of light on issues around that. So, lots of environmental, or lots of, it's definitely in a featured spot are things that have angered me and saddened me to no end. Like, hence why I sing a bird carcass with a belly full of plastic, one more year and I'll be a millionaire. And that, there you have that weird detachment. And again, trying to understand your being what we are, and being a modern human being, and all that entices. And I guess Silence in the Age of Apes, which, first video, opening track, put a lot of the anger and this thought of acceleration and this ultimate threat and the frustration with that, we make a lot of noise in our, up in our trees, slamming rocks together, being the apes we are. And at the same time, if you go out in space and listen from another spot in the universe, it's very quiet in this day and age. It's silence. It's quiet. There's silence in the Age of Apes, because we could do much more probably.
Yes, very very deep. And also I was going to say there's a lot of focus on the record. I think there's the band has always been very fun and had whimsical moments of hidden meanings, and I find that this album is very, song to song, is very direct, and
and
maybe
also
a little yeah,
go ahead. No, you please finish that.
I was just going to say it's a little angrier, if that's possible.
Yes.
Like a little more hostile than the past records on purpose.
Yes, because I think one thing is fine, like we finally get the humor out of our system properly. Because if you go back a bit in time, like Feathers and Flesh is a very dark album. It's very much about death. And but however, still in the presentation of it then, and I guess it started with the music video, it's just that once we realized that we won't be able to do the actual story of the album proper justice in a music video form, in a way that makes sense with everything else that Avatar is outside of this album, we won't do a full feature animated movie fable with owls and eagles. So we need to take this concept of each song, take it out individually, and find a way to visualize that isn't necessarily, tied to the fable that was laid a foundation for that album. So, and then the presentation, just aesthetically, what we were into at the time, made a lot of things humorous. In particular, I would say The Eagle Has Landed as a music video, and New Land. Me and Tim being like Kirk and Spock in space on adventures, fencing off tentacles with swords, having coffee on the moon, and having fun with it. And that spilled into the live show, that spilled into a lot of things. We also like to mess with people's expectations. Oh, this is an award show? Oh, you want us to dress up? Okay, yeah, we'll get these swim shorts and 3 Wolf Moon shirts. I don't know, just almost childish, but still some kind of protest or way to stand out of the crowd, or whatever. But we did and all that, ultimately that's alongside that, we for the longest time have had these inside jokes about Jonas being our king and the talk on stage of Avatar country started to happen. The flag of Avatar, everything pointed to, we were having a lot of fun, and we had a lot of fun trying to be funny, and at the very least we made ourselves laugh. And then we decided to let's go all in now with humor, alongside doing this love letter to heavy metal, alongside having this weird word building project. And then the magic of that period was, of course, that how people, the fans, were all on board, all in, and wanted to play that with us. But once that happened, and I feel like we did it as well, as good as we possibly could, and again, it went out of our systems. We took that to the most extreme we could, and then it felt kind of okay. Now we've done that for now. Now it's time to then do all the things we didn't let ourselves do because we were doing that. Because the humor, everything there would be ruined if we didn't do that, take that all the way. So then instead, now comes all the rage that we didn't get to process for 2 years. And therefore it was suddenly very important to, let's actually do an album that doesn't contain a single ounce of humor. Let's do something where it's all about staying, daring to dwell in that darkness and explore that, deal with that, create from that, and to do that the same amount of justice as we try to do the whole humor thing at that time. So yeah.
Well, what I will say is, I think the new album doesn't lose all the work you guys put in, world building, if you will, Avatar world building. I don't think it's lost. I think it's another layer. This is now.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I think it's a very right now 2020 album. Like, it's very much in the some of the kind of music we need right now is a little more focused and a little more sharpness, which I really like. And the other thing I wanted to talk about with you is I love the dynamic range of the album. And you've had some interesting stuff before, but I really love a song like Gun is really beautiful and unexpected, I think, in a lot of ways. Beautifully sung, beautiful lyrics, like really
Thank you.
powerful. And I wanted to talk about the thought that went into some of those choices with some of the a song like Gun and other songs.
Well, Gun I came up with that, the first, the piano part of it, like the verses, and that what you would call a main riff, the theme, I guess, if you do it on piano, the main theme, and the first line, "You give a boy a gun," that has been with us since, I guess I came up with it in 2013 or something. It's been 7 years in the making, that song, and it went through a whole lot of reincarnations along the way, and was always a candidate, if I would be able to finish it, we would have put it on an album even earlier. But it took time, and on surface, it's not a complex song, but I guess, and I'm sure you heard this in many interviews before, that many times for a songwriter that is the hardest thing to nail. Because if you build a more complex structure, more if there's more stuff going on in a song, all those pieces, they can lean on each other, they become their own support system. The action kind of feeds into itself, or something like that. But if you remove building blocks, again, I guess to have that focus and razor sharpness becomes harder suddenly, when you don't back it up with a tank. So it took a while, and ultimately, I guess that song is, it's a vulnerable performed song, vulnerable sonic song, but it also is ultimately, I guess, about vulnerability. Because "You give a boy a gun" as a statement, is ultimately you give, the consequences you risk if you give someone the ability to hurt you and it goes wrong, or you give your everything to someone, and that doesn't always end well. And again, the risk with being weak for someone, or being sensitive and all that. So, but it's, I guess, again, it's you can't avoid that if you in human interaction if you want some meaning with it. So yeah, it's a vulnerable song about vulnerability. It's a wonderful English word for a Swede to say, vulnerable. Yeah.
Right. Too many syllables. I think it probably came from a lot of our American English is from German. So, and I just love that song, but also the album is very heavy. I know it's hard to talk in context about an album no one has heard except a few people, including myself. So it is a very heavy record. And if you love the brutal stuff of Avatar, it's all in there. You're a lot of great vocals and guitar riffs and drum beats and stuff. There's no shortage. And like I said, I just like that there's a lot more dynamic range on even from song to song on here, and Gun in particular stood out, so I appreciate you sharing that. You guys got to work with Corey Taylor on a track, which is awesome. He's great.
Yeah, I guess that's where we again doing things to crack ourselves up. That's the one point where we couldn't help ourselves. Is he's good friends with Jay, who produced the album, and we couldn't, and so they were talking, and he wanted to, he was going to be in town. We recorded this in LA. He was going to be in town, and he would love to come over and hear some stuff. We have met a couple of times, and he has come around to enjoy what we do, and through the lots of recommendations from his wife, as far as I understood, she's a fan of the band. So they came back to listen to what we were working at, and he also had then mentioned, and I'm up for laying down some tracks on something if they're into that. That's he has threw it out there very casually and nicely, and the first thought was me to you can whistle, like let's have Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour, one of the biggest in our type of music today, and for the last 20 years, let's have him come and whistle like he stands on the top of a mountain. And it's like when in the early seasons of South Park, I think George Clooney was a dog, so that is where we couldn't help ourselves. But he does some gang vocals and stuff as well, and
nice.
He actually helped us. He co-wrote a song with us. Basically what happened is that it's Wormhole, where we loved that riff, and we had 10 times the parts for the songs that we needed, that just in quantities, because we have worked on so many different songs for that riff to find a home in, and we were close, but at the same time we were close but also burnt out and had gone blind. So as it was there, we just sent with him an MP3 of what we had, and Jay had a voicemail the morning after with him going basically da 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 da, just root notes for the chords and a little melody thing. We worked that in there, and that kind of untied that knot we have made for ourselves for the longest time with that song. That his little humming and strumming helped us finalize that song. So I think the biggest contribution that he made was that was something that was a part of the album where he isn't heard on.
Nice. That's interesting. And Jay is a great. Jay Öhrström is a fantastic producer. He's done a lot of great stuff. So it's cool to hear that he got to, I always find the best producers help get the best out of you. You're not a band that needs somebody, there are different kinds of producers
Yeah.
who get work out of you, and other producers who come in to coach you or write with you. And Jay can do either, but obviously you guys write your own stuff. You don't need anyone to come in and
he's very dynamic, and we hit it off very, just on a personal level, in terms of just what we value and what makes us laugh and what we like to eat, those kind of things. We are very much in line with each other. Then he is he is a metal dude, but he is not a death metal dude. He's not there are not many church burners in his record collection. He came and he was he's not ashamed for how much he enjoyed hairspray smelling bands in the 80s, and we forgive him for it. But he has a wide range of now he's been kind of pigeonholed as a metal producer, and he does that amazingly. At the same time, as his range in what he has done and could do is very wide. So a very wide frame of reference, which we also work with. We boil it down to be metal, but the ideas can come from everywhere. And I don't think we need necessarily, for what Avatar is, I don't feel that we need a death metal producer in there, because that is what we started. That is what we started playing together. That's how we learned to play music. That was our, when we took ourselves to school, so to speak, and to become metal musicians. We started at the extreme end, and I think the best death metal producer in the world is your inner 15-year-olds anyway. So therefore, to work with someone like him, then that comes in part from another side of the spectrum a bit, and it comes with worked with so many different styles of music, with a different types of melodic sensibility, which is to me very important. Like being a metal band, I still don't just want to rip off Ronnie James Dio vocals. Number one, because I'm not as good as him, but just to just try to have a wide frame of reference when it comes to the melodic content and stuff like that. And there, I think the marriage was really good. And when we bring in this guy Walter's samples and synthesizers to put into the songs, and see Jay's laughing hysterically while his face is being melted at this weird Euro rave music that is all stuffed in there underneath all that metal that we recorded, so he was definitely the right guy for the job.
Nice. And I'm sure he helped you find all the awesome vegan restaurants in LA.
Yeah, or like the ones in the neighborhoods. We didn't dwell out so much, we were in LA for 3 weeks. I went outside twice.
Wow. Yikes. Hardworking. Just any final thoughts? I'm really excited for people to hear this record. I'm sure you are too.
Oh, final thoughts are always hard on this. No, like I said, like we were talking, you were saying something about, the general attitudes of what Avatar is as a band, and how appreciative our fans, our audience, are and have been of what we do. What we strive to do, if I try to put words on it, we're just trying to be honest with ourselves, and thus with the people who decide to listen to our music. It's I think Bruce Dickinson at some point in a fairly recent interview mentioned like why has Iron Maiden been able to stand the test of time and be so insanely loved by their fans and be rediscovered, is that they have kind of always, this is a paraphrase, not a quote, they kind of always been able to, how did he put it? Well, you have an editor, you can shorten this pause. They been always fairly, what they said they were going to do, that's kind of what they did always, So that kind of openness and honesty and coherence in what they do, then I think maybe we have been a bit more, we are as a band by design, by choice, a bit more all over the place stylistically. I look more at Queen or Beatles for that. We can we always want to go or Devin Townsend, wherever we want to go, but still to be very open with the intention of that, while also focusing very selfishly on an audience of 5, and thus making albums that satisfy us, that means the world to us, and then release it out there into the world, where the acceptance of, okay, nobody else might like this, that's fine, that's okay. That goes for Avatar Country, as crazy that was, that goes for something as dark as this. It's always fine, because there's only 5 people in this world that are bound to have to live with this album for the rest of their lives. The rest of the world can just turn it off like Chinese democracy and go to listen to something else. It's fine. 5 of us have to live with it. And we made yet again something that I am gladly will return to and listen to and have be part of, what we've created, and just have it stay with me for as long as I live. And that being said, I hope and I think that people are gonna love this.
I agree wholeheartedly. Again, Hunter Gatherer coming out later this year on E1. Congratulations, Johannes from Avatar. It's been amazing talking to you. Thank you very much. And I look forward to, when this thing is all over, you coming back over here and getting on tour and doing what you guys do best, which is
definitely
in front of people.
I can't wait. I know we have to, so I can, but you know what I mean.
I do. Thank you again, man. Take care.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.